That's funny.
What's going on, guys? Pegasus from the Wisefire Alliance. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. We're here today to break down basically what is going on in the future of the game. What is going on in the future of the game is that Fossil Adamancipator in general, that doesn't have to be the only engine, as well as Eldlich being dominant the way it already has, but continuing that with the Numeron builds, with the Zexolock, mixed with the engine that is already ridiculous. Unless something massive happens on the ban list to further help Dragma, we're going to have a triangle format. I would venture to say Dragma is really, really, really good, but I don't know how it's going to unseat the top two. We're going to use the star chip system, as well as give you a dual deck profile. That's right, dual deck profile. That's right, dual deck profile, where we break it down on Dueling Book. Obviously, you saw the sadness at the start of the video, but we're going to break it down on Dueling Book, the exact cards that at least are going to impact the game going forward. So let's jump into it, shall we? So clearly, first up, we gotta break down a little bit of the Dragma stuff with the Invoke stuff. It's just going to be way too smooth. It's going to be way too good. It's going to be really, really detrimental if you want to touch your extra deck, which is really, really powerful. But let's get into the nitty gritty of why you are here. Okay, guys, so now that you get to see my face, I'm going to break down Adamancipator first for the profile that I was talking about, but then I'm also going to break down the Eldlich build because I feel like they're both going to be so impactful. However, the Adamancipator version, you don't have to play the fossil stuff. This is just me presenting it just how I would necessarily build it. It doesn't mean that it's any better than the unexpected die versions, the emergency teleport, the tuning version. There's all kind of variations of Adamancipator that are still going to be able to compete. Granted, we don't know what's going to happen on the list. Maybe Black Dragon goes to 1. We don't really know. We're going to get straight into it though. Okay, so I'm going to look here and here at the same time. 3 of each of the tuners, that goes without question. There's nothing that I can really explain farther than that. And Researcher gets even more powerful because you're going to have even more ways to have a rock that can basically come out of your grave and then continue on. So this deck will be further able to play around the Nibiru if you like this version. If you don't, you don't. You know, it is what it is. But you can also do that with the unexpected die stuff. So there's a trade-off, and there's more extra deck space on one side. It's kind of how you want to play things, right? Getting into the other cards of Black Dragon, obviously it might get hit, it might get touched. You know, if it does, then you just make slight adjustments. It's not that big of a deal unless it gets completely banned. You got 3 Doki Doki. 3 Doki Doki is not really changing anything. I'm not going to explain cards that you guys already know, but you obviously pitch a card, you summon another rock, any level rock, you summon another rock at the same level. That's why I kind of wanted to play Nibiru in the main, but I just couldn't make it work because I really preferred impermanence, so you see at the bottom. The Buster Destruction Sword, obviously if it gets hit, and then you'll have another space. Gate Blocker, I love. You can play double Gigantes, but I love Gate Blocker because I hate stuff like Mystic Mine or certain field spells that can cripple you. Sometimes field spells can really, really cripple you. And I'm more inclined to play it in this version because I play Midbreaker Field in my other version, and I love Midbreaker Field. That card is absolutely ridiculous. 3 Guardian, not really showing anything new there. 3 Petting Set Sword. Sure, it's good, it's strong, sure thing. But it also, sometimes I feel like there's rooms for better cards, but it just hasn't been revealed yet. So for now, that card's pretty good. You don't have to play 3, you can definitely play 2. O-Lion being really, really good. Tactical Crusader is also a really, really good card, which is going to tie into a card that I'm about to talk about. Then obviously you have the Tenyi Adhara because it's a free needle fiber. Why would you not play it until there's something better? Always got to be able to open your eyes and see something better. Weathering Soldier being the basic mainstay in the main deck that you have to have. I mean, it's really, really good. It allows you to add the Fossil Fusion if it touches the grave or if it's destroyed. But then you get into the interesting card, obviously Weeping Out on Foolish Burial, but then you get into the interesting card. So Foolish Fusion. Fossil Fusion is really, really strong for the simple fact that I can go off out of my graveyard. Much like Black Dragon, I can continue to do things on top of the Black Dragon. And when you have a level 4 and a level 6, you're not really worried about their effects. They're just so free, and they're out of the graveyard, and you're fusing out of your graveyard. It's just really, really interesting. But the interesting card out of those is that Miracle Rupture is basically another Foolish Burial for your deck, although you can only dump a level 4 or lower. And you can have the ability to draw a card tied to the bottom part of the effect, so it's really, really good. And then I'm playing triple impermanence. It could obviously be 3 Nibiru, but with impermanence, I'm thinking about in the future, I'm thinking about Zexal. I'm thinking about cards like Forbidden Droplets when it comes out, as I'll get to in a second, in the other part of this dual deck profile. But then getting the side deck is just really, really generic stuff. I love Exchange. I was put onto this card by the homie Miles Valentino, and he was right. The card is really, really good. And in a combo deck like this, let's just call it what it is. And then I like Reboot for a specific reason, just being able to just wipe your opponent completely out. I really hate back row, like heavy back row decks. And Numeron is definitely going to be a problem as far as those back row decks, which is why we're going to get into that in a second. And then in the extra deck, I'm playing both of the fusions, although, you know, it is what it is. And then obviously you got Drag Eye, Raptite, the usual suspects all the way down the line. I don't think not a whole lot is going to change. And what I want to make the key of is, you do not have to have, I'm going to say it again, you do not have to play Fossil. You don't have to. It's good. It's really, really strong. But it's not necessarily, again, better than the Unexpected Dive version. That's just my opinion. Now let's get into the second part of this. So now we're on part 2, and again, at the very end of this, I'm going to do the star chip system thing. It's kind of inspired by me and my friends talking, but then I noticed it on El Exordio del Dulista. He does it. That is the best Yu-Gi tuber, like by a country mile. I would always recommend. I like, as a small Yu-Gi tuber myself, I enjoy watching other Yu-Gi tubers because I get inspired off of them. Sometimes you have to come up with your own ideas, or otherwise you're making everything kind of drab. But sometimes you got to pay homage, and their system breakdown and how they do things is really, really awesome. But without further ado, let's jump into the Numeron Eldlich, and this is where I feel like this deck is damn near tier 0, and I really, really mean that, and I don't use that lightly. The deck, from my play testing before, you know, tragedy happened, this deck is really, really stupid, because if one thing doesn't work, it's even better than the needle fiber stuff that was going on before. It's just better. You don't need to have a lot of stuff. Like, you just activate it. Did it work? Oh, dang, it missed. Okay, well, now I'll just play Eldlich. So let's jump into it, shall we? Okay, so I'm playing three Ash Blossom, just my preference. And I incorporated the Dragoon engine, which, you know, I'll touch on when I get there. But 3 Ash Blossom, obviously. Then I played 3 of the Eldlich Golden Lord, the double Ghost Ogre because I know its power that's going to go into the format that we're going into, because it can stop the Numeron wall, or the Numeron network, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. But then the Numeron walls, if you've never seen it before, I'm just going to explain it really quick. If you control no cards, or all cards you control a Numeron wall, quick effect, you can send this card from your hand or field to the grave, activate 1 Numeron network. So there's so many copies of this stuff that it's like, it's not even inconsistent. It's not inconsistent. And Eldlich already is fluidly consistent, and you're not hardly going to brick. Now, I'm not playing Black Awakening in this build, but it doesn't matter, because I don't want to limit myself to zombies. If I open one, you know, like, I'm not going to struggle to get to Eldlich. I'll just say that. And if you do, then you just slip one in there. It's no big deal. But after that, and obviously you have the hand trap effect. You guys know about that. But after that, the Dragoon stuff, I'm unsure on the timing, because I keep hearing different things. And, you know, with COVID going on, hope everybody's staying safe at home. Make sure you stay safe. Wear the damn mask. You know. I'm not going to make a whole lot of political crap. But Dragoon mixed with Zexal, it's like a horrible nightmare to live through. So if one gets hit, I feel like if Zexal actually gets hit, there's still going to be some other options. A lot of people are thinking just because the public enemy #1 and Zexal is gone, there's still other Numeron cards, if you really look close, that are really, really stupid. They're not Zexal, but they're really, really stupid. But just jumping back in the deck profile, we got, again, guys, so continuing, actually had a minor hiccup there, but continuing, Cursed Evelyn, obviously, you got to play 3 of it. Scout, Search, everything. White Destiny, yeah, I think you got to play 1 just to be on the safe side. But this is where it gets interesting. Forbidden Droplet is basically Forbidden Chalice on crack, like crack cocaine crack, but it's limited to once a turn. So I'm just going to read over the card real quick. Send any number of other cards from your hand and or field to the grave until the end of this turn. Have the attack of exactly that many effect monsters your opponent controls. So it can be a massive quick skill drain or a massive Forbidden Chalice, right? Also negate their effects. Your opponent cannot activate cards or, my bad, or the effects of cards with the same name, with the same original type of card. I thought it said name, or the effects of cards with the same original type of card, monster, spell, or trap, as the card sent to the grave to activate this card. This card is really, really powerful. And yeah, man, this card is really, really powerful, and it's basically, you can't really do anything in the response of its activation. It's really, really strong. It's not a completely unfair card, but it's a very, very powerful card, and it's definitely going to make a new impact, just like the crossout card whenever that drops. And moving on, though, I want to talk about some other stuff. The Numeron calling and then the Numeron network, they work hand in hand. The network grabs the next card grabs, like they all work off of each other. It's not that hard to understand. It's really easy to understand. Then you got the red eye stuff. Again, if it doesn't come out anytime soon, you just ignore the 3 slots that you have for that, as well as the extra deck slot. Then you got terraforming to search out the Numeron network, which is boom, summon a Zexal off of all your summons and then set a bunch of traps and then get Eldlich on the board and then go from there, where they basically, it's like a really, really unfair and cheap and easy way to make an unbreakable board, or a board that they have to deal with with such a struggle that they're not going to be able to follow up on their next turn. And that's why I said this deck is almost tier 0. I would say it's about as close as you can get, maybe 0.5. Then the counter trap, the 3 Scarlet Sanguine, all that stuff is generic. And then triple impermanence, you can play something else there. You know, if you really want to, you can play the train, the Nibiru's in the main, and then switch them out to down here. So we're getting down here. We have 3 of the Nibiru. I'm playing Gamma because Gamma is going to be another card that I really feel like is going to be super duper important when Zexal, if Zexal becomes what we think it is. I remember it in the past. We have a player from Kansas City that was playing it and destroying people, and he was just using it in Lightsworn, and it was destroying people. So now that you have something organized that a lot more people are going to see, you kind of got a problem. You know what I mean? The 3rd Cyclone, I'm playing Forbidden Chalice. Only I would play another Droplet, which you can, but Droplet has a limitation to once a turn, so Chalice. You just want to think about stuff to help you deal with Zexal, because Zexal is a problem. If you think it's not, it's better than VFD, and there's not that many cards in the game that are better than VFD. So I really don't know how Zexal's gone this long without being unnoticed, but it definitely won't be unnoticed once this Numeron stuff comes out. Then you got the Lightning Storm and the Evenly, so I'm not really showing you anything there. Obviously, you got the Dragoon. Then I'm playing pretty much 2 of all of the ones that can summon themselves out fast, because I want to be able to do the Zexal thing twice. If you feel like your deck doesn't need to do it twice, then sure. If you're, like Guru, it might not need it after that first time, because the stopping power will be so powerful that you might not need it. Or another combo deck that it might fit in. Who knows? I don't really know. Who knows? But to me, these ratios are correct for this deck, and that's what I'm speaking on. And then the Zexal, then the train stuff, as you guys already know about. The BLS link, because it'll be really interesting and really, really fast and easy to get a lot of this stuff out. Once you have your opponent pretty much on the ropes and they have a deck that may struggle with the BLS link, you drop the BLS link, and then obviously you got the Verde Anaconda for the Dragoon stuff. All this stuff, guys, what I wanted to boil down to, all of this stuff is leading us directly into what I perceive as a triangle format. And Numeron is going to definitely make a strong impact on the game. Let me know what you think down in the comments on these deck profiles, what improvements you could see, what other decks could benefit off of the Numeron engine. And I'll see you next time. I appreciate you guys, man. I'm out. YG baby. Make sure you sub. Make sure you hit the bell. Make sure you go to ingaming.com. Make sure you go to Maydu Gaming on TCG Player. Because we got it. We got it like that, guys. I'm out. YG baby. So So on a scale of 1 to 100, 100 being really, really good, I put the attack somewhere around an 80 or a 90 for Eldlich. It's really, really strong. Its defense is also really, really strong. It's up around a 90 or 100 itself, which 100 is, I don't give it out lightly, but it really is that good. Its consistency is around an 80 or a 90. The range of being able to do certain things, different things, it makes it really, really hard to deal with. Let's just be frank with it. Eldlich is already hard to deal with, and when you put a Numeron engine alongside of it, it almost makes the deck unbeatable. Then obviously you have versatility. Versatility, it's going to try to do the same thing. It's going to try to drop Zexal and then have a way to basically prevent you from playing through Eldlich, the Golden Lord. So, you know, it is what it is with that. And then its recovery is off of the charts because the trap cards have the ability to float. Now getting to Adamancipator. Adamancipator obviously has a really, really high attack value itself, but I'd say it's somewhere around an 80, you know, around 70 or 80. It's not going to absolutely blow you away. However, it's going to make a ridiculous board, and that's where its defense is way up there because it can play right through hand traps like they do not even matter. So I would almost say its defense is up around 100. I would say its consistency, its ability to keep doing the same thing over and over again. Sometimes it takes a hit, and obviously you have to get things right, and yes, you can whiff. So I say its consistency is around an 80. But where it makes up for that is its versatility, the ability to pivot around hand traps is somewhere around 100. I really would say that. Yes, Adamancipator is trying to do the same thing every game, but the ways that it can pivot around hand traps and pivot around game state, back row, so on and so forth, it makes it really, really, really hard to deal with. And then its recovery, while it's not spectacular, it's also not horrible, so I put it somewhere around a 70. So both of these decks are basically going to dominate the new meta, unless something drastic happens, which I don't foresee it happening because we're still dealing with an online meta. And last but not least, the Dragma stuff. Until we have further knowledge of what exact decks are going to take over, whether it be Invoked, whether it be Necros, I would venture to say it's also going to be in this realm. It's also going to make and probably round out the triangle format. And I think this is going to be a triangle format unless something else comes out of the woodwork. Hell, Numeron may have its own spin on things itself. That's been me. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Make sure that you hit the bell. Make sure you sub. Make sure you hit your boy up on the Owl's Nest. Make sure you're there for the tournaments. Make sure you hit up Maydu Gaming. Make sure you hit up Ink Gaming. And I'm out of here. YG, baby.